Hello, folks. I've got something to say today, and it might take me a little bit to get going, but because you can't just start off right off the bat. It's like you go to kickstart a motorcycle. You kickstart that motorcycle, and it just you can't just hit the throttle and take off down the road. It'll die on you. You got to let it warm up just a little bit. So. Or same thing with the car. You get in, you first start the car. It's just got to warm up before it gets to where it can really start running right. So anyway, I don't know where to begin on this one, but just recently, what I want to talk about today is if any of you all happen to see, Toriello Yonza had posted on Facebook the other day about a conversation that me and him were having, and that conversation was about how that the people wanted a king in the Old Testament, Book of Samuel. The people wanted a king, and Samuel was trying to convince them that it was not going to be necessarily a good thing to do. So anyway, anyway, it might be best if I read the situation. Let's see. How could I start this? Well, let's just do it this way. First, I would like to entitle this sermon, "Nay, but we will have a king." Because that's what the people told Samuel whenever he came back to him, and he told him, he said, "No, well, I don't know if it's going to be the best idea." So he's like, "You all shouldn't do this." And he's like, "No, nay, but we will have a king." So anyway, what happened was, to start it off, I thought I might do scriptures, and I might do some scriptures, but I tend to like to just sling it out there. And I hope I can sling it out in such a way that you all know what's going on, even if you're not real familiar with the stories. But anyway, what happened was of course the Israelites came out of Egypt, and then they went over into the Promised Land, and then they had judges over them. There was the book of the Judges. Then it went into the book of Samuel, and then it went into the books of the Kings. So what all this means is that, see, there were judges that basically ruled over Israel, and for a span of time, like what was it, Samson, I suppose, and Gideon, and different ones. And so anyway, but they were known as the judges. Then there was the kings. So anyway, what this represents is, and then in the middle of that was the prophet Samuel. Right in between the age of the judges and the age of the kings in the Old Testament was the prophet Samuel in the book of Samuel. So Samuel essentially stood in the breach between the judges and the kings. So what we had was, to put it in modern terms, what it means now is that we were under a mental condition of being under judgment during the age of Pisces, during the 7 church ages. And what we had there was we had the 7 church age messengers who were judges, essentially. We were all under this Piscean age judgment, this church age judgment, condition of judgment. But we did have deliverers. We had the judges themselves, and like I said, the 7 church age messengers. Then at the end of that came William Branham, and William Branham stood in the breach between that age and the age that we're in now. Okay, so because what we have done now is we have went into, let me just say it this way. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So anyway, Samuel was in the breach between the age of the judges and the age of the kings. Okay, so we had the judges, then we had Samuel. Okay, William Branham came at the end of the age of the judges and stood in the breach, as he preached in 1962 or whenever, the message to breach, talking about how he was in the breach of everything, the transition. And what happened was then after that, see, roughly in that time frame is when, or a little after, is when people wanted to go into a condition of kingship. See, the third coming has been a condition of kingship. That's third coming 101. It's the idea that we are in a condition of kingship now and not under a mental condition of judgment, but we are in a mental condition of kingship. So what happened was William Branham stood in the breach between our judgment age and our kingship age, or the third coming, from the age of the church ages into the age of the third coming. Okay, and now we have been under an age of kingship. So I might read a little bit of scripture. This is, so let's find out how we got here. This comes from, go figure, the 8th chapter of Samuel. And it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of the firstborn was Joel, and the name of the second Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, took bribes, and perverted judgment. So, yeah. So anyway, I got a special guest with me today. I got my mom's come over to hear this one. So she got that one right off the bat. She knows what's going on. So anyway, so what this represents, this is not hard. The sons of Samuel. See, Samuel made his sons judges over Israel, and his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, took bribes, and perverted judgment. Well, we know that that's the message people. That was the sons of Samuel is William Branham. So the sons of Samuel were the message people, the message pastors. And we all know, what did they do? They turned aside after lucre, money, and took bribes and perverted judgment. Okay, so we know that that's what that is. So that was the message. And then all the elders, then here's verse 4. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel at Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now, it's essentially to say the message of William Branham, dare I say, that era is old, and thy sons, the message pastors, do not walk in thy ways. Do not walk in thy ways. Now, okay, and he said, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. But the thing displeased Samuel when he said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. Okay. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them, according to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me, and served other gods, so do they also unto thee. Okay, so anyway, let me see if I can skip down here. I don't want to read all this. But anyway, what this is saying is, see, I think we can clear up some confusion here, or some bit of debate with the message. I love clearing up debate with people. And for the longest time, we have, I think, tried to, and I see the Third Testament groups kind of still doing this. It's like that they try to justify the fact, because, okay, like, we know that when we went into Third Comingism, we became kings, or we became the King of Kings, in that we understood that we are Christ. So therefore, we went into a condition of kingship rather than a condition of judgment upon us like we had had through all the 7 church ages. Okay, so the sorry, lost my train of thought. So the condition, we went into a condition of kingship. Okay, that's, like I said, that's Third Coming 101. That's what we did. So the the question was how could we basically justify having done that? We went into a condition to where we're kings and we're sovereign and we can do whatever we want, essentially. Okay, now I'm gonna get more into that later on. It don't quite work out exactly that way, but that's, anyway, there are different ideas on that. But we became kings. Okay, we became. See, what he said was what they said was here was. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. Okay, so we wanted to be like in a condition of kingship like all the nations out here. Okay, or essentially like the world, because what are the nations? The nations are the world. So we essentially became worldly. Okay, in a sense, because we're like all the rest of the world, in that we are not under judgment anymore, not under church age type of judgment, but we are kings ourselves. And so we wanted to be like the rest of the world, to which Samuel, of course, William Branham was totally against that. You know, he was against worldliness, against anybody going into worldliness or doing anything that the rest of the world was doing. Okay, so what we did was we did not do what William Branham said. We see the message, like I said, the Third Testament people are always trying to kind of like justify what we have done, and saying that, you know, giving scriptures and saying, well, here William Branham said this, and this justifies what we did, and that they're true. They're absolutely true. All the scriptures, all the Branham scriptures that they can give are absolutely true. That oftentimes that found within William Branham's message, you do find where that he did say to do. He did say that this was going to be so. But there on the same hand, I think the message people have had a fair argument over the years that we really did not do what William Branham said to do, in that we went into worldliness in the sense of making ourselves Christ. Okay, so let's just not have to have a debate about it anymore. Let's just say, okay, we did. Okay, we did go into worldliness. See, it's like, I think the Third Testament, they don't want to say that. A lot of people in the Third Coming, they don't want to say that. They don't want to say, we did go into worldliness. You know, they don't just want to say that. They want to still justify it, and they have to try to justify it to the message. What are we doing justifying anything anyway? We're out of judgment. We are kings. Well, we don't have to justify anything to anybody. That's the point here, okay? But people are still trying to justify that. Let's just say it. Let's just say we did not do what the prophet said to do. He said he did not. He said, don't keep yourself from this worldliness. Don't do all this. Don't make you don't make yourselves a king like all the other nations of the world. You know, don't go into worldliness, because that's essentially what it is. It's essentially, like I said, you make yourself Christ, you make yourself worldly. Okay, now of course there are different ideas on how you make yourself. When you make yourself a king, let's say, and you get out of judgment, then you go into worldliness, because it's like this. All the other kings out here, what are we talking about here? How did we become like all the other kings of all the nations out here? Who are these people? Who are these other kings of all these nations out here? It was people who were not under judgment, because you're either in one condition or the other. You're under judgment or you're under kingship. Okay, so it's all these people out here that didn't know nothing about no third coming, didn't know nothing about no church ages, no church, no none of this, and they were not under judgment. They were not under the age of the judges, but so we wanted to be essentially like them. We wanted to be kings like them. Okay, we wanted to be kings like all the other people out here that weren't under judgment. Okay, so, and then of course Samuel, go into worldliness essentially, and I mean to some rough degree, So anyway, on that front anyway, by making yourself a king, that's what you do. And of course, Samuel was like, or William Branham was like, "No, don't you go into worldliness." And we was like, "No, but we will have a king." Okay, so anyway, and then and like I said, there was a big debate about, oh well, you guys went into. You can't make yourselves. Now I'm going to get into. There's another worldliness aspect to this. I'm going to get into towards the end of it. But I'm just talking about. I'm not talking about worldliness for sake of worldliness, because we get into that too eventually. But I'm just talking about right now the condition of kingship, which all the third coming people from top to bottom all believe in. Okay, I'm not talking about worldliness. We'll get to that, because there's another debate on that comes along too. But I'm just talking about the idea of kingship. Okay. So, and that was a worldliness all on its own front. Whether the most holy rollers, or the most holy side of the third coming would agree or not, it's a condition of worldliness compared to being under judgment, if you believe that you are a king. So anyway, we can stop the debate now. We don't have to justify that what we did. We can say, you know what, message people? Yeah, we did. Well, we did go against what William Branham said, because they've been saying, well, you all are going against what William Branham said whenever you all go into this type of worldliness. Well, you know what, guys? Yes, we did. It's exactly what we did. Okay, so we're in agreement now. Finally, we're finally in agreement now. We don't have to hide it. We don't have to try to justify, be like, which we had a lot of good scriptures that justified, a lot of good Branham scriptures that justified what we were doing, because he knew it too. But there was, but there on the same hand, he was always saying, don't go into worldliness. So anyway, they were right about that. The message people were right about that. That's what he did say, really, truly. It's what he said. Okay, so it's nice to be in agreement for once. However, having said that, you have to know the rest of the story to understand what's going on here. What happened in the process of that? What happened when in Israel, when they took a king, when they said, let me see if I can read it down here. I don't know if I can find it here, but nevertheless, see, Samuel goes through, I'm not going to read it, but Samuel goes through all this stuff. He's like, well, now this is going to happen, and this is going to happen if you do this. And he's like, okay, here's all the things that's going to happen if you go into kingship. And here's Samuel 8:19. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, nay, but we will have a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles. Okay, so what this represents in terms of today is that we rejected Samuel. We rejected William Branham, and we went into a mental condition of kingship to where we are all kings, and we are going out and fighting the battles before us. But in a sense, to backtrack here, I say we went against William Branham. Here in the 8th chapter, verse 7, and the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. So essentially, there is also the aspect that we really did not reject William Branham. In that, what we really rejected was we rejected God. Okay, that's what he says right here. Okay, so in a sense the Israelites did go against Samuel, but in a sense they rejected God. Okay, however you want to look at that, however the message people want to take that. Okay, so what we did was we, in a way, we really didn't go against William Branham, because we're all very fond of William Branham over here. But what we did was we rejected God. And how we did that was that we rejected the Piscean church age version of God. We rejected the old age version of God. It was time for us to be kings now. You've got to understand, you've got to go move on with the story. Okay? We rejected we didn't really, we kind of rejected William Branham, didn't really reject him in a way, and we rejected God. We rejected the church age judgment version of God. And now we've got to move into the next age, which is the kings. And he said, just go ahead and do it. Okay? So what the point that Toriel Johnson, whenever he wrote that on Facebook, that me and him had come to, one of the grand points of it was that, see, we had to reject Samuel and God to usher in the new age. Okay? The golden age of Israel was Solomon. It was a king. Everybody knows this. The golden age of Israel was after this happened. It was after this happened. It was after they had gotten a king. First they got Saul and David, and then Solomon. And Solomon was the greatest, the most wisest man on the planet. It was the golden age of Israel. Well, none of that could have happened unless the people had rejected God and disobeyed what Samuel said to do. So the holy thing to do, believe it or not, was actually to not do what the prophet said. To not do what he said. Because that's how it worked. That's how it worked. And you go read the Holy Writ. Read your Holy Bible. Okay? And what do you find? You find that this holy book was people don't read it right. They read it and they say, well, look what these children of Israel did. They did this terrible thing where they rejected Samuel and they rejected God and they wanted a king over him, and that, and this and that. But you read on, and that was what brought in the golden age. It was it was the Holy Writ itself. You got to think about this. The Holy Writ itself was them. The words in there that you all think are so holy was the Israelites rejecting God. It was rejecting the prophet. That's the words. Read the words. The words in there. You say, well, I could go to a message person and say, you believe every word in that Bible's holy? Yes, sir, I sure do. Well, get in there. every word in that Bible's holy. And then I'd pull it out and say, well, what about where these Israelites, they they rejected God and rejected Samuel? Is that holy? Is that holy? Yeah. According to them, it is. Yeah. So I'm telling you that to do what the prophet said not to do, to reject God, was holy. According to what the message believe. They believe that book. Well, if I had a Bible, I'd hold it. Look, here's the Bible. Here's that book. Flip it open. And we reject God and we reject Samuel and we're going to have a king over us. Well, that's words in the book. If you all think that's holy book, and think that's a holy book, and we really do too, then that's we all believe it's a holy book, even us, in a sense. So in there, those words was to reject God and the prophet, was to do what was right in that situation. Okay, so the answer is this: yes, we did reject God. Yes, we did reject William Branham, and yes, it was the holy thing to do, and yes, it was what we were supposed to do. We don't hide it. We ain't got nothing to hide no more. The Third Testament has got scriptures after scriptures. I watch them on Facebook. They got scriptures after scriptures showing where William Branham basically said that we were justified in what we did. Okay, cool. And they're right most of the time. Or probably pretty much all the time. They're right. But you know what? I don't care. I don't have to justify what I did. I don't care. The Third Testament people, if they want to keep going with that, maybe they'll get some people to think, and they'll bring them into the third coming. I'm not saying anything against it, but I don't need to justify. I'm tired. I don't need to justify myself. It's not a question of, I'm not under judgment anymore, so I don't need to have a scripture that says why, and even probably the Love Divine people and on up, they're probably a little bit into still trying to do that too. So it's just forget it. Just forget it. You don't need to justify who you are. You don't need to justify. I don't need to justify this stuff. I'm not under judgment anymore, so I don't need to justify to anybody why I've done anything. I'm a sovereign king. I am King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and I am moved into a condition of third coming kingship, and I got news for you. Whenever I give a decree, that's it. And I don't have to be justified to nobody. Mm-hmm. Okay, because I'm in a sovereign condition of kingship. Okay, so whenever I reject the prophet and I reject God, then that's like I said, that was the Holy Writ. That's what it's supposed to do. It don't look like it to people because they can't think like that. But that's what it was. That was the right thing to do. That's what the Bible is made up of, is them rejecting God and the prophet. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. So in short, what me and Toriello Yonza had talked about and what he had posted about was the fact, to summarize it thus far, was just the idea that the way to actually do the thing was that it had to be to reject the prophet and God. Okay? So that was the right, if there is a right way, let's say. That gets ironic. If there is a right way, then the way, let's just not say there's a right way, but that was the way that they did it. The way that they did it was to do it that way. Okay, so that's what we did. Okay, so you can say, well, for better or for worse, whatever, that's what they did. Okay, well, it certainly turns out that it looks that it came out the better, because Solomon, the golden age of Israel, came after that. Okay, so let's get on to the next part of it. Now that I've made that point, so me and Toriel Yonza had got there on our conversation. Now this whole next part is things that we didn't necessarily discuss. We hadn't, I kind of got a second part to this that we had not discussed, and anyway, nonetheless, I need to. There's a whole another second part to this thing, and some other different ways of looking at what that part was. But now let's move on. We've rejected God. We've rejected William Branham. And then I don't know if I'll get this all done in a one-part or a two-part here, folks. But anyway, so having rejected William Branham and God, here's what happened next.
Gosh.
Here's what happened next. What we did was we went into the age of the third coming. Okay, what was the third coming? What was it called? It was called the Son of David ministry. Okay, who is the son of David? Solomon. Okay, what happened was we went into this age to where that, what does it say about Solomon? He was the wisest man on earth, and it was the golden age of Israel, because by rejecting God and William Branham, we ushered in the golden age of understanding. Okay, through the Son of David ministry, the Solomonic age. Okay, this golden age came, and what happened? It said, I don't have the exact scripture, but all the kings of the earth came to hear the wisdom of Solomon. Okay, that's what happened. This understanding, this Son of David ministry that we went through, that's history now, but we went through it, and what happened was all the kings of the earth, the people that were capable of being in kingship, essentially, came and heard the wisdom of Solomon and understood who they were, understood better the things of how everything operates. Okay, it was a golden age of understanding, the golden age of Israel. So, all brought on by rejecting the prophet and God. So anyway, then what happened was the third coming, not third coming, but you got to get the terms right. The Son of David ministry, the Solomonic golden age of Israel, has already come and gone. Okay, it was the third coming, or it was the Son of David ministry. That was the golden age. It's already over. It's later than you think, folks. It's already over. Okay, so the golden age came, and then what happened after that? And I don't mean to say that we're in a lesser time now or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But so what happened after that was, and this is where it starts getting up into modern day. What happened was after Solomon, the kingdoms of Israel split into two, and you had Judah, and then you had Israel. Okay, so what happened was but they were both kingdoms. So one took one king and one took the other king. One was the son of Solomon, the other one was another guy, Jeroboam. Okay, so anyway, what happened was, but what this all represents is that after what happened was it became a debate. Everybody was kings at this point, but everybody was under the concept of kingship. Nobody was under judges anymore in the third coming. It was over. Okay, but it was a debate about, or a war, or whatever you want to look at it, a debate about how to be a king. Everybody's a king now. Third Testament people are kings. They believe absolutely that we're Christ. We're the King of Kings. We're in a kingship condition. Love divine people absolutely believe that we're Christ. We're in a kingship condition. You know, they preach it all here. Love divine people, they preach it all the time, and nobody has disagreement about that. Okay, everybody's a king here. Everybody's a king here under the third coming umbrella of nations, essentially, and under the sons of Jacob. Okay, the 12 tribes out here. Everybody's a king. But there's a debate. There became a debate about how to be a king. And that created the nation of Judah, which was the Third Testament, and that created the nation of Israel, which is the love divine. That's exactly what happened. Because the Third Testament group people, this is just the way we used to look at it back under the Piscean days, but it applies here. You'd read the Bible and you read about the kings of Judah, and you said those were the good kings, the good holy kings. And then the Israelite kings, they were just the evil kings that just did whatever and worshiped Baal and this and that. Okay, so the Third Testament, they became the good kings because their whole modus operandi is to be their kings, but they believe that you got to be good. They still believe in they're under kingship, but they got to be good kings. They got to be good and not bad kings. You see, so that made the kings of Judah, and there ain't nothing wrong with them. They're playing their part. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Then on the other hand, you had this. I'll get to it. And then on the other hand, you had the love divine side. And what did the love divine side do? Their idea on how you be a king was totally different than that, because they didn't believe in necessarily good or bad, essentially, or they weren't trying to be good. They were just like their idea mimicked the Israelite kings and their take on how you be a king. So their ideas were like, if you read about it, then you find out that they were just kind of doing whatever. They weren't really interested so much in being good. Let's say that the Judah kings were interested in being good. Okay, and there was nothing wrong with the Israelites either. All I'm simply saying here is that I am just the narrator. I am just giving the summary of what happened here. Mom asked me earlier, she said, what's going to be the summary of your message? And I said, you've already answered the question. It's a summary. If that is the summary of it, it's a summary. Okay, I'm not here to say what's good and bad. I'm just here to tell the story. Okay, and by telling the story, then I play my part. So anyway, let me get on with the story. So when it comes to, what I run into is out here, and I hope this might clear up some questions of people that I talk to amongst the Third Testament people and the Love Divine people on Facebook. The Third Testament people, some of the Third Testament people, they just emphatically believe that the Love Divine people are just an evil devil scourge from hell, for lack of better words. I know that's pretty much it. Okay, so anyway, and then I think that they always want to know. They always want to know what I think. They always want to know is like, we can't figure you out, Brother Cook. What do you think about that? How exactly do you take that? Because, I'm always saying, well, yeah, it's Jezebel, it's Baal worship. The Love Divine's Jezebel and Baal worship, and Toriello Yonza is King Ahab, and the whole thing. And so anyway, but the thing about it is that they want me to make it about being good and bad, and I'm not going to do it. It's not about being good and bad, but that's their position. They have to be in that position of making it about being good and bad, because to be the good kings, that's what they have to do. Okay, but I'm not going to make it about good and bad. I'm not playing the good and bad game. You see, I'm not doing it. I'll tell y'all another thing is this. So a lot of people would think they would be, because they've listened to me over the years, and be like, well, Brother Cook calls the Love Divine people, he calls them Jezebel, and he calls them Baal worshippers, and calls Don Parnell or Toriello Yonza, he calls him King Ahab. Well, he must think they're evil. He must think. No. It's how can I explain this? They're just playing their part. Like we got to earlier. I said that you've got to do the thing sometimes necessarily that you're not supposed to do. We weren't supposed to go against what the prophet said. We weren't supposed to reject God. Sometimes it's what you got to do. It's what you got to do to play the part to make the whole thing work. It's a script. It's not about good or bad. When you play a part in a movie or make a movie, it ain't about good or bad. It's just playing your part.
Right.
Oh, well, listen. The good and bad. Did you gonna say something?
No.
The good and bad is that. How can I say this? Let me get back to that. I want to say this before I forget it. See, when we came out, when Samuel was in the breach, or William Branham was in the breach, and we came out, we had King Saul. He anointed King Saul, okay, to be king over Israel, okay. All right, all king over Israel. Okay, so back in that day, in my opinion, that was the beginnings of kingship, and that was the beginnings of the third coming itself. And King Saul is a Toriello Yonza, or in that day, Don Parnell. Okay, that's absolutely the fact. He was the first king that we had, because he was, and then I say, he was the first king of this age. This age of kingship, okay, and then now you bring it up to now we've got into another set here, and we've got into this we went through the golden age, and now we've got up into that Judah and Israel to split, and now I'm saying that Toriello Yonza is King Ahab, okay. So which is it? Is he Saul, King Saul, or is he King Ahab? Well, it's just like we was talking about the other day. Whenever William Branham talked about how that you only, he said that there was this play and there wasn't enough people to play all the parts. So one guy had to come out in one mask, and then he had to go backstage and put on a new mask and come back out again. You see, a Toriello Yonza, Don Parnell, he's both. He was King Saul to start with, and now he went backstage, and now we're over here in Act 3, Act 2 of the play, and he come back out, and now he's King Ahab of Israel. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to say that, but I want to say this. When it comes to, see, like I said, the good kings, the Judah Third Testament kings, they're always trying to say, they're always trying to make it about good and bad, and whenever it's always about a case of being good and bad. Are the Love Divine people the scourge of Satan, or aren't they? Okay, so anyway, here's what I want to read. I'll read this. I told all this to a good friend of mine the other day, Lucas Taylor, and here's what the scripture he come up with. He came up with the perfect scripture to nail it. Okay, hear this, and I got a couple more here too. Proverbs 16:25. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Okay, so everybody for forever has totally misinterpreted that scripture. Here's what it really means. Look, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Okay, what it means is, see, everybody thought, they can't get right and wrong out of their minds. We're not in an age of right and wrong anymore. Mm-hmm. We're not in an age of judgment. Judgment is right and wrong. We're not doing right and wrong anymore. Okay, that's over. Okay, what this was that, look, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man. See, they want me, everybody on this side that's got the right and the wrong, they want me to say, well, they're wrong. And then, but it's not about right and wrong. I'm not saying that they're not playing their part. I'm not saying they're not Baal worshipers. I'm not saying they're not naked Jezebel and all this now. I'm not saying that. Because they are. And I'm getting ready to explain how they are. Okay? But that don't mean it's not about right and wrong. We done discovered that. We done said that. Look, we all, every one of us, you all holy Judah Third Testament people, if you all want to claim that you're holy, don't you all forget that you all was the ones that come out with us, with everybody else, according to whatever they believe. I'm not saying I'm a full-fledged love diviner exactly here, because I'm not, but all of us come out. Every one of us come out and rejected William Branham and rejected God in the fact that you believe in kingship, that you wanted a king because you all believed that you were Christ, and you were right. You were right. But don't you all give me the holy bit, because you all rejected God and William Branham just as much as we did. Just as much as everybody else out here that thinks whatever they think. Okay, whatever that may be. Okay, so anyway, but what I'm saying here is there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Everybody misinterpreted this. What it meant was it meant, see, everybody thinks that when they read that scripture, they think that it's about how that somebody, here's what everybody thinks. It's just leftover church age BS. Okay, they still think that what this means is that some guy had an idea of how he thought the right way, the best way to go was, and he was still wrong about that way, and it led him to death. Okay, so it was like he thought he was right, and it turned out he was wrong. Okay, no, that's dead wrong. If I can say a right and a wrong, okay, look. See, it's so ironic when you get into talking about this because you contradict yourself. But hey, that's just the Bible's a contradiction. The whole thing's a contradiction of itself. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I'm saying is that, you know, the way that seemeth right unto a man. He thinks he's right, but it turns out he was wrong, and that led him to death. Okay, no, that's the wrong way to look at this. The right way to look at this is that there's a way that seemeth right to a man, but that is death, essentially. The problem was not that he had what he thought was right and it turned out to be wrong and led him to death. The problem was that he thought that there was a right way to damn start with. Okay, that's what this is saying. This is saying that we've read it wrong for forever. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man. Look, here it is. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof is the ways of death. Okay, if the way of death is to assume that there's a right way to start with. There is no right and wrong way here. That's the whole point. We read it wrong. Mm-hmm. We thought, oh well, he thought he was right and he was wrong. No, the idea that he thought he had a right way to do something was the wrong way. The idea, there is still a right and a wrong essentially, but it's the wrong way has become to believe, as terrible as that sounds and as confusing as that sounds, that if you had a wrong way now, the wrong way would be to assume that you thought that you had a right way. You see? I mean, I can't. See, so what I'm saying is these people out here, these Third Testament people, they are so concerned about having a right and a wrong way that it's essentially folly. It's become folly. It's become folly to think that trying to be holy as kings, by trying to be holy as third coming people, by still having this leftover essentially idea of right and wrong, essentially, then they have that's the way of death, because they think that they have the right way. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, now I'll do even more. I ain't done yet. And don't think I ain't going to get to the love divine and give them a scalding too. Everybody's getting a scalding today. As always. I always give everybody a scalding. Okay? So anyway, then, and I got one more good scalding to give the Third Testament people. Okay? Because I get tired of that. I'm on there and they're like, Torrio Jones is the devil, and the love divine people are the devil, and the scourge of Satan, and the things that they believe, and that God and Satan are one, and all this and that's just the devil. Okay? All right? It ain't about right and wrong. Okay? I'm not playing that game. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll get to it. Okay, anyway. All right? This is not about right and wrong. This is just about telling who's who. Because if you understand who's who, then you understand things. Mm-hmm. See, William Branham, it's like Mom. Mom is always talking about in William Branham in the Conduct Order Doctrine book. I never read it, but she knows. Okay, because I don't care about reading this stuff. I don't care. I might read it before I croak out here. I don't know. Probably not. Okay, so anyway, but Mom's always telling. I've heard other people talk about it. So you all can prove this or whatever. But Mom always told me, she said, what they did in that Conduct Order Doctrine book, whenever they was reading William Branham, whenever they was writing William Branham saying, what should we do here? See, William Branham wanted to, correct me if I'm wrong, he wanted to get questions, he was taking questions from the people to answer what was going on. Mm-hmm. And see, William Branham, what he did was, as a prophet, here's what you do. A prophet comes to an age to unveil the age. Okay, that's what they do. They come to unveil things to show what's going on, and if you know what's going on, then you'll know what's going on. Okay, so anyway, but whenever William Branham said, "Okay, y'all write me, and I'll answer your questions," what did they write? Mom said that they wrote, "Brother Branham, is it okay for me to cut my bangs? Is it okay for me to wear my skirt? It goes down 2 inches below my knee. Yeah. Is it okay for me to shave my legs, Brother Branham? I just don't want to go to hell, and but I'd like to shave my legs. And what else is there? Is it okay for me to color my hair, Brother Branham?" And see, he was like, ugh. It was like you guys didn't get it. All you all are trying to do is find out right and wrong. Is this going to send me to hell? Is this the right way or the wrong way to do something, Brother Branham? And they didn't get anything that was going on. He's saying, look here, he said, Israel's awakening, the signs that the Bible foretold, Gentiles' days numbered, and horrors encumbered, return all dispersed to your own. Okay, so he was saying, look what's happening around you. I've got the king's sword. There's a big cloud in the sky. Life magazine, packed at 1963.
But can I shave my legs, though, Brother Branham?
As Mom said, but can I shave my legs, Brother Branham? How stupid is that? Look how stupid that is. The great work had been done. The ending of the 7 church ages. The ending of the 7 church ages was that William Branham beats some Ricky up that was trying to tear down his fence, goes to wherever, gets a king's sword, gets to the White Rock and all this. I don't even know. I don't even care to know all of it. Okay? And then all that was going on. And they're concerned about shaving their legs.
They
missed it a million miles. Missed it a million miles. All they cared about was, is this evil? Is this evil, Brother Branham? Is this evil for me to shave my legs? How stupid. And I'm going to tell y'all something right now. Y'all Third Testament people, y'all are totally missing it. Y'all are totally missing what's going on here. There's a great work going on right now, and I'm getting ready to explain it to you. There's a great work that has gone on for the past several years of what is playing out here all right now amongst us. And you all had nothing better to do than try to figure out whether people were evil or not. You missed it. You flat missed it. I got another scripture for you too. Like I said, I'm going to get to the love divine too. All right. You've all missed it. Missed it flat. You all have, every one of you all, from Love Divine, top to bottom, to Third Testament, you all have missed it just as bad as everybody missed what was going on in William Branham's day and the Message people. You all missed it just as bad, every one of you. Third Testament people, hear this. Deuteronomy 17 and 14, okay? This is so bad I had to go digging scriptures out of Deuteronomy. You know it's bad. Don't make me mad. Don't make me even more mad. I'll go dig some out of Leviticus. Okay. All right, look. Deuteronomy 17 and 14. I'm tired of people it's like yeah, but they're evil. I'm tired of it. Mm-hmm. Okay. You do agree that they're evil, right? I'm tired of it. Okay. Look.
Oh Lord.
Deuteronomy 17 and 14. Now figure this. This was before. I'm finished up the Third Testament people. Now I'm going to get to the Love Divine people. But this was before. Now this Deuteronomy was the first, 5 books of Moses. The Torah, I guess they call it. So anyway, this was long before they ever even got into, well, not long before, but right before they got into the Promised Land. They hadn't even went through the age of the judges yet. None of that. Probably 300, 400, 500 years before they ever even thought of having a king. Mm-hmm. They were out there in the wilderness at this point. They hadn't even crossed the Jordan River yet. Yeah. Okay. Deuteronomy 17 and 14. When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations are about me. Oh, really? Set a king over you? This is 500 years before. Message people's heads exploded. Mm-hmm. You know, this is prophecy. We fulfilled prophecy by having a king.
Wow.
They fulfilled prophecy by rejecting the prophet because he said this was going to happen. Right. You had to fulfill the prophecy, you had to reject the prophet. Uh-huh. Okay, so anyway, dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Okay, so we've got up to the third coming. Okay, according to this, thou shalt in any wise set a king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose one from among thy brethren. Shalt thou set a king over thee? Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not over thee, or which is not thy brother. Okay, verse 16. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Okay, so what he was telling them was, he said, after you all have become a king, I'll give you this commandment. See, all these Third Testament people, they're all so concerned about keeping these commandments. Mm-hmm. Okay, they're kings, but they're so concerned about keeping the commandments and being right and being good. Mm-hmm. Okay, here's what he said. He said, don't go back into Egypt. He said, don't return into that stuff. He said, in the day whenever you get a king over you, whenever you get the condition of kingship to the third coming, when that day comes, and you're over here in the golden age and whatnot, he said, and you're in the age of the kings, he said, do not return into Egypt for the sake of horses or whatever you want to do here. Don't go back into Egypt. Ye shall henceforth return no more that way. What was Egypt? What we just come out of? We just come out of Message-ism, Egypt, and this idea of still having these the age of judgment and the age of good and bad and all this and that. And he said right here in Deuteronomy, he said, do not go back that way. And that's exactly what you all are trying to do. You're trying to multiply your horses and go back into this idea of right and wrong. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, those good kings, they're the ones that are telling everybody that, we still got to be this and that. We still got to be holy. And they don't even know what commandments they're breaking. They're claiming, we got to keep the commandments. And they're breaking the commandments themselves. Don't go back into Egypt. He told you, he said, when the day you become a king, don't go back into that stuff. But they got to be the good kings. They got to be the good kings. Mm-hmm. Okay. So anyway, that's enough on them. because they got to be good. They're kings, but they got to be good about it. They got to say, oh, we're good, and these guys are evil. Okay, all right. So I've said enough on them.
Yeah.
All right. The wife has spoken. She said, I've said enough. Okay. Now, here's what I want to get to the next parts of it. Because really, truly, in a sense, the Israelite kings was kind of where the message went to. Judah was still, I don't want to take anything away from Judah. I don't want to take anything away from the third coming people, or Third Testament people. But the story, if you read in the book of the Kings, it was kind of a story of both the kings of Judah and the kings of Israel. It was both. So, and look, when I say that the Third Testament people, I've ragged on them and said, well, look what you guys are doing. But see, they're supposed to do that. You're not wrong. See, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you guys have played the script exactly, but you don't know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. See? Mm-hmm. The Third Testament people done it exactly right. Okay, let's get to another group that's done it exactly right. Okay, I'm not, the next group is the Love Divine group. And if you get to reading in the book of Samuel and the book of the Kings, and you get to rolling on up through there, well, yeah, it talks about what Judah did and how they were good and they tried to keep the commandments, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but it got mostly into Israel. That was where it became the next big thing. The next big talking point was the kings of Israel. Okay, and sometimes it would go back and forth, but nonetheless, kind of the big story became Israel there at one point. The kings of what was going on in Israel. Well, what's Israel? See, Judah was the good kings. Okay, the ones, the Israel is the Love Divine people. No doubt about it. The whole shebang, Love Divine. Okay? Now how do I get that? Okay. Like I said, there became two opposing viewpoints on how you should be a king, because there was two kingdoms, Judah and Israel. Okay? It's split. Okay, so naturally that's got to be the third coming, or the Third Testament side and the Love Divine side. Okay, because they became the two, they all believe in kingship. They don't believe in judgment anymore, judges. They all believe in kingship, the condition of mental kingship, that we are the Christ. But they have two opposed viewpoints on how you should be a king. Okay, so that's what happened. See, Judah and Israel split over how we should be a king. What happened was Rehoboam, to get into it, Rehoboam was like, when Solomon died, they was like, well, how's Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, how's he going to treat us? And he thought about it, and he came out and he said, my little finger is going to be thicker than my father's thigh, and I'm going to treat you all, put you to the yoke. And they was like, no, we ain't having this. Okay, so that's essentially what happened with the Love Divine people. Whenever whenever the Solomonic age was over, the son of David ministry was over, then came out the king Rehoboam to redo, because that's what the Third Testament people are, is to redo things. Okay, they come out and they said, so how if we stay under you all, then how's this going to work? And they said, well, we're kings, but my little finger's going to be thicker than my father's thigh, and that's about what they got. They're going to yoke it up. That's what they've been doing. The Third Testament people's been yoking it up. They're tough. And the Love Divine people said, you know what? We're out. They said, no, we ain't doing this neither. Okay? And then Israel split from Judah. Okay? And then the Love Divine people out here, because they had to fulfill the scripture for one thing. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then they said, no, we ain't doing this neither. And so they put Jeroboam over them. Okay? And eventually, King Jeroboam. And they said, no, we ain't getting yoked up neither. And that's exactly what the Love Divine mentality is compared to the Third Testament mentality. It's like, no, we ain't yoking up with a bunch of this commandments and a bunch of this trying to be good and all this. No, we ain't. Okay, that's their mentality. Mm-hmm. Okay, so of which I am one. Mm-hmm. Okay, so anyway, then what happened was eventually, but all the things that befell the Love Divinic age, here's what they did. See, with the Third Testament people, I had to really kind of like get on them to try to get them to understand in terms of commandments, because that's the only way they understand. But with the Love Divine people, I don't have to do that. because they ain't going to care. What do they care? They ain't going to take offense to nothing because, in a way, because they don't have any terms of judgment upon them anyway. Okay, but I would let me explain it this way. What happened was, it doesn't change the fact. See, what they did was they did exactly the same thing in the opposite manner. Because what did Israel do? Okay, I'll go right down the line. Israel went into Baal worship. Israel became loose. I mean, if you read it in the Bible, it's just is what it is. It's like I said, it's the Holy Writ. I'm not saying it's wrong. Okay, I'm not saying that anything that the Love Divine people or the Third Testament people, anybody's done here is wrong. But I just have to tell you how that you've played your part. We've read that and said, we've seen William Branham preach Jezebel religion. We've read about Jezebel and read about how she painted her face and the Jezebel women walking down streets of Jeffersonville and they wouldn't put on clothes and running around naked and all this and that. And what did they do? Okay. What the Love Divine has done is the exact same thing that Israel done, because they have taken a spirit of nakedness, essentially, in their doctrines and ideologies. Okay, because it's spiritual nakedness, because that's what they believe.
Mental nakedness.
Yes, mental, spiritual nakedness, not so much physical nakedness. Because we ain't doing physical no more. This is all spiritual. We embrace it as all going to go into spiritual. Okay, so I'm not talking about physical anymore. Okay, good point. Make sure we clarify that. But I'm not talking about physical at all. But I'm talking about spiritual nakedness. They took a spiritual ideology of nakedness. Okay, that's common. Anybody knows that. I'm not telling stuff that the Love Divine people don't know. Okay, all right. Then they took on this. I could just go right down the line. Let me just say this. Like I said, Toriel Alonza is King Ahab, and the Love Divine people are. And please hang with me here, because I hope everybody's not asleep yet. I hope that, because this is where it's going to start really hammering in. Okay. This is where we get up to really, really put it right up to modern day. I said that Toriel Alonza was King Ahab, okay? And I said that the Love Divine people, or the Love Divine ideology, is Jezebel religion. That's exactly what it is. Absolutely. Here's the thing, though, and I had this conversation with Toriel Alonza himself the other day. I said it's like this. I said, you're King Ahab. I said, but what did William Branham say about Ahab? And, John Kennedy was supposed to be Ahab, and the Catholic Church is supposed to be the Jezebel. He said John Kennedy was an all right guy. He said that he was making him King Ahab. He said King Ahab was an all right guy. It was that Catholic spirit or whatever, that Jezebel nature that was the issue that he was yoked up with. But Ahab was an all right guy. And I'll tell you all, Toriel Alonza, he's an all right guy. But, and I'm not saying he did anything wrong, because he had to do this. He had to play his part. I'm just saying, and the Love Divine people, the Jezebel religion people, they all played their part. But they are Jezebel religion. Tom Parnell, Toriel Alonza, is King Ahab. But that's what he had to be. He did it to the T. You couldn't. Everybody has acted this perfectly. Okay, he was preaching their message, but he's not really even extreme that way himself. From talking to him, I know he's not extreme Love Divine in a way. But he's got to fulfill that. It's got to come out through him. Because it's hard to explain, but that's the way he fulfills the scripture. So, look, for example, Toriel Alonza has been preaching this for years, okay? What is points 1, 2, and 3 of Baal worship? Point A, is that it's a woman message, okay? It was the Jezebel naked woman message, okay? Point 2 was that the Baal worshippers passed their sons through the fire unto Baal or whatever. Okay, so they killed their sons. Point 3 was that Jezebel was after all the prophets. Okay, Jezebel was trying to kill the sons, make them pass through the fire as a sacrifice. They was trying to kill the prophets. Trying to kill the prophets because remember the guy hit them in the cave, hit 1,000 of them in a cave or whatever. And then what was the other thing I said? The naked Jezebel message. Okay, all right. For the past several years, what has the love divinic message been? It has been A, spiritual nakedness. It has been B, no more sonship. No more sonship. And 3, no more prophets.
That's right.
Look, it's no problem. It's okay.
Yeah.
They did what they were supposed to do.
That's right.
Because there's not supposed to be a prophet. How you kill the prophets, how you kill the sons, is by saying that doesn't exist anymore. Well, that's how you do it mentally. They didn't. Now, look, I don't know any one love divine person who has actually tried to go out and make one of their sons or daughters, like in I don't know, what's the town in northern Mindanao, where Mildred's from? Butuan. I haven't heard of anybody from Butuan in the Philippines or wherever else in the Philippines that laid out a hot bed of coal of fires and made their sons pass through unto Baal. I haven't heard anybody doing that. But what they did was they did it because you don't do it. And it's the age of Aquarius. Everything's in the mind. Okay, you do it through the mind. You do it through your thoughts. You make people pass through the fire through your thoughts, through making it as though it's no more sonship. You kill the prophets by saying that there are no more prophets.
It's the death of them.
It's the mental death, the spiritual intelligent death. Okay, so this is how you do it. Okay, so and like I said, no problem. That's no problem. It's okay. It
takes them all.
It takes them all. So anyway, it takes everybody has played this so perfect, but I'm just saying that that's how that no, it's okay. That's that's how that's good. That I'm not used to this. I'm not used to having a congregation. But anyway, see, that's how, and that's what I'm getting ready to talk about next. That's how that all these things have been fulfilled. They have done it exactly. I got no problem with it. I got no problem with it. It's okay. So, and here's what I've been saying. Now let me just tell you all about the next one. See, I've clearly identified who these people are and what they're doing. Okay, that's all it was about. It wasn't about, like I said, is it okay for me to shave my legs, Brother Branham? So we're gonna go back to that. See, look, I just called the love divine. I said, right down the line, I said, here's why they're Jezebel religion and Baal worship and King Ahab and all this and that. Okay, and then, so and then the minds, after hearing that, the minds of the Third Testament people would go back and be like, oh, so you believe they're bad, Brother Cook? Oh, no.
You either get it or
no. So you're saying they shouldn't shave their legs? Oh, God. God help me. Piscean, oh, great Piscean God help me. Okay, anyway. Okay, so anyway. So now I got to get on to the next part. So I've identified who these people are. Okay, now I got to tell you all who the rest of it is. And this is going to be the great unveiling of the whole age. The whole age, like I said, this whole age, I told everybody, I said they didn't know what they were doing. I said they were missing what was really going on. Because in William Branham days, they missed it. They missed, like I said, that they missed for whatever reason, regardless of whether it was somebody who was like scared to death that shaving their legs was going to send them to hell, or somebody who was just the Rickies and Rickettas or whatever that was walking down the streets of Jeffersonville, and the Ricketta had her shorts hiked up to where William Branham couldn't hardly even stand to walk down the streets. Okay, it didn't matter which side you were on. Okay, because that's what we got now. We got those same type of spirits here now. Okay, so but they all missed what was going on.
Yeah.
That he was Elijah and that the whole thing was being fulfilled and that the cloud in the sky and everything had come to confirm his ministry. Okay, that's what was going on. But everybody missed that. Okay, so let me tell you all what's going on. The whole thing there has went on here again. What?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. We missed it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody missed it. But it's okay. It's okay. It's like Don Parnell says. It's like he always says. He said the message people are always like, or people will write him and say, did we miss the rapture, Brother Parnell? And he's like, yeah, you did, but you can still get in it.
Good one.
Yeah. He's been saying that a lot lately. He's been telling stories. But anyway, but I'm saying this. I'm just saying this that I'm saying there's been another rapture here. I'm saying, did you miss it? Yes. Can you still get in it? Yes. Okay. See, my ministry here is a parallel of what's going on there and the Grand Age switch. Because, see, Toriel Allianza he's taken the mass Piscean age and turning it to the age of Aquarius. Mm-hmm. Okay. My ministry, and I know that, and I understand that, of course, because I couldn't get here if I didn't know that.
That's right.
Okay. But I have a ministry to talk to the people of the third coming. Okay. I'm all the things that's going on there that was happened with that age or is still happening, because that's still modern. Mm-hmm. Because in the greater, it's a great modern thing. It's that will expand time for probably hundreds of years in either direction. Okay, I have to do the same thing. My ministry is to do the same thing within terms of just the third coming, because there is an age switch right now in terms of just the third coming going on too. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Okay, so. Like I told last time I talked to Torio Yonza, he was talking about, I told him, I'm like, I know you're Elijah, and then I'm one of the 7,000. We're ones of the 7,000 that did not bow the knee to the Piscean Baal. You mm-hmm. see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, now mm-hmm. we've come up here and we've got another Baal. So anyway, I'm going to talk about another Elijah.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the deal. I done the good kings of Judah. I done the kings of Israel. Okay, like I said, we got it all the way up into where it was talking about Israel and talking about King Ahab and talking about the Baal worshippers and all this and that. So there's one guy left. Who's left? Who's the guy who was the other person out here, or other people, I should say. There were a few that were part of this story. And the answer to that is Elijah the prophet. Because you had the kings of Judah, you had King Ahab, and then you had Elijah. Who's Elijah? Well, I'll be happy to tell you. I'll be happy to tell you who Elijah is. Elijah, whenever William Branham explains, see what you have. Whenever you had those Baptists and Pentecostals back in the day, you had the same thing. You had Judah and Israel, because the Baptists were the good kings, and the Pentecostals flopping around the floor naked were the Jezebel bunch. Okay, but it's okay. So anyway, and then you had William Branham. He was Elijah, and what did he do? He just simply recognized it for what it was. That's all he did. He knew he was able to give the summation. That was what was going on there. William Branham summarized it, and he said, "You're you. I know who I am." He didn't say who he was, but he knew who he was, and this is what's going on. And he just placed it. He placed it all over. Mm-hmm. And there you go. Okay. So here's the deal. The guy who can place it by default has got to be Elijah. Okay. The who's who. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm just going to tell it. See, William Branham wouldn't tell that he was Elijah, but he knew he was Elijah. And see, I don't believe in doing what the prophet said to do. See, I don't believe in doing it that way. I believe that William Branham would have said, "Oh well, now be humble, and if you know something like that, well, you just wouldn't tell it." Well, see, I don't believe in doing what the prophet said to do, so I'm just going to tell you I'm Elijah. Okay, all right. I'm going to be humble, all right, but I'm not going to be humble for being humble. Okay, I'm Elijah. Okay.
You're humble enough to tell the truth.
Humble enough to tell the truth. Right. Being humble is telling the truth.
Right.
Right. So anyway, I'm going to tell you how I'm Elijah. And not only am I Elijah, but I know where there's a cloud at too. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, see, William Branham had a cloud. He had all these people around him doing all these things that they were supposed to be doing, and then he was out there with a cloud. Okay? The cloud confirmed his ministry. Okay? So, what happened was, see, I have only had, with the exception of Mom today and my loving wife on camera, I have only had one person to come and confirm my ministry. I've only had one person in these years to come and confirm my ministry, okay, of what I've been saying. I could tell you all so much that I just know. There's, look, for years I've been fed by the ravens. I've been eating soda crackers and branch water, but spiritually speaking, because I've been out of this. I've been hid. I've been, Jezebel's been after me. This Jezebel, because I've exposed it for what it is. It's obvious what it is. I burn up these Baal worshippers by exposing them for who they are, because they didn't know that they were Baal worshippers. They didn't know that they were redoing this. Okay? And they're trying to kill the prophets, kill the concept of this. But that's what they're supposed to do. No hard feelings. Okay? Because I'm saying I'm a prophet. I'm saying I'm the prophet Elijah. Okay? Well, they've been trying to kill that because they don't want that. Okay? That's how it works. I've been running from this whole thing. Look, I could tell you all so much, you all think I'm crazy. I was living down at Dry Creek years ago. I knew all this then. I was living down at Dry Creek, and I got to thinking. I've looked up all kinds of maps and stuff of ancient Israel, and it all works out and everything. I go on and I tell you all crazy stuff. Y'all be like, what in the world? But anyway, I was down there at Dry Creek, and so anyway, I get to looking at. I think it was Elijah he lived by the brook Kerith and was fed by the ravens. I think it was where it was. So I looked that up, and I'm like, what is this brook Kerith or whatever it was? I'm pretty sure it was the one. And it said it was an intermittently flowing spring, as in the water didn't flow all the time.
Dry creek.
A dry creek. See, look, I'll tell y'all something.
Got you.
I mean, it was just crazy, the stuff I found. So anyway, not only that, me and a guy named Lucas Taylor's been in this message. He lived with Toriel Yonza back in the day, okay? He lived with Don Parnell, okay? So anyway, he lived with him, okay? Me and Lucas has been friends and talking about this message for a long time. And we concluded that there was something up with us. Me and Lucas got to looking at for one thing, our astrology charts. And Lucas, I'm just going to tell it. It just is what it is. I mean, what I got to lose? What I got to lose? Okay, lose my soda crackers and branch water. People think I'm crazy.
Your fine home.
Huh?
Your fine home.
Yeah, my fine. Oh yeah, my fine home, my luxury cars. Yeah. So anyway, lose my 25-year-old car. Wow. Okay, so anyway. Be a shame, wouldn't it? No, it's a nice car. I don't want to down it too much. Okay, so anyway, spiritually speaking, I'd have to lose a car spiritually speaking. Now I couldn't lose it physically, right? So anyway, here's the deal. Me and Lucas has been talking, and we concluded that there was something up with us. And there was no other way. See, you got to figure, when Don Parnell come out and he explained what all was going on, he had to explain who he was. He really did. I mean, we heard it from him. Okay, so you could say, well, how can you say this about yourself? Well, really, he was the one that was telling all the stuff that had went on with him that proved who he was. Okay, so we heard it from him. But we all knew it was true. The white horse rider, the whole thing, it was obvious. We knew it was true. Okay, so I'm just going to tell, and this is what it is. You're going to hear it from me. Me and Lucas, my friend that come to confirm, the one friend that I had to come to my home and listen to preach himself a little bit, we concluded that our astrology charts are this. And you can take it for whatever you want, but here's the deal. My astrology chart has Capricorn 3 times. Okay, Capricorn is the mountain goat and the old wise prophet sage. That's what it is. So it was a sage on a mountain. Okay, I have Aquarius 1 time, which is the upper heavens, the highest heaven. Then I have all the fire signs represented, mostly fire. And then I have 3 water signs. Okay, so what it represents is that it's a prophet sage on a mountain calling into the upper heaven, calling down fire on an altar covered in water 3 times. That is what happened whenever the Baal worshippers went up on the mountain of Mount Carmel with Elijah. That they got up there and they was cutting themselves and they was trying to get Baal to make fire on the altar. And Elijah said, keep calling to Baal, see if you're going to get fire on the altar. And they never did. They cut themselves and did everything, couldn't do it. And then Elijah said, then it was Elijah's turn. They said, well, we give up, we can't get no fire. And then Elijah came and he said, cover the altar in water, covered in water. And they covered it in water. They was under a drought at the time. And it was like they'd been droughted for years. And he's like, cover that altar in water. And like, okay, they covered it in water. Covered water. He's like, cover water again, cover water again. 3 times. There's water just everywhere. Okay, and then what does he do? Prophet sage on the mountain calls into the upper heavens, into Aquarius, and calls down fire, the fire signs, upon the altar covered in water 3 times. Okay, all right, that's cool, right? Okay, well let me beat that. Okay, Lucas Taylor, in case you all don't know, he's Luke Taylor on Facebook. Okay, my friend who would listen to what I was saying, who didn't totally think I was nuts for these past 7 or 8 years, we got to looking at his astrology chart. His astrology chart is he's a Gemini, and his chart is all air and water. All air and water. Okay, so that makes him a cloud. This dude is a cloud. Okay, he's a cloud. He's a Gemini, and he's a cloud. All air and water. He's a cloud.
Amazing.
And get there. Then, so anyway, what happened was Elijah, he went up and burned up the Baal worshippers. He burned up the Baal worshippers. How did he do that? He burned them up through exposing who they are. Because, see, I've explained to you all who that the Love Divine people are, who that the Love Divine ideology is. I've explained that is Baal worship. And through explaining the who's who of who they are, then you can read the story. If you know who they are, then you can read the story and see what they did. But like I said, no hard feelings. This is how it's supposed to be. People would say, are you saying that they did wrong, Brother Cook? No. I'm saying they did right. I'm saying they couldn't have done it any better. I'm saying if they'd have done it any other way, they'd have been wrong. They did what they were supposed to do. Everybody's fine here. Okay, it's like Aquarius. Everybody, what's the problem? Everything's fine. It's Aquarian people. When people get mad, it's like, well, what's the problem? It's okay. Everything's fine. Okay, so anyway, so Lucas, my one friend, basically, Lucas, my one friend. I told him the other day. I heard that song. It was, I think it was, might have been Dan Seals. It was, if I had only one friend left, I'd want it to be you. I said that's you, Lucas. So anyway, because I think it's Dan Seals, isn't it?
I think it is.
And Lucas was listening to Dan Seals when he was down here. Remember? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. So anyway, but here's the rest of the story. So Elijah burns them all up. Okay, so now they've been burned up. I burn up the, okay, by exposing who they are. Then what happens next? Now let's get into what's going to happen now, okay? Because that ain't the end of the story. Okay, now let's really get up to because then it gets into speculation. Me and Lucas has got this worked up so far that we're into speculation to some degree now. But here's what happened. After Elijah burned them up, they was in a drought, okay? And not to mention, they were in a drought, and they go up on this mountain, as I recall, or something, and they're waiting for Elijah's like, there's going to be rain now. Okay, I'm telling you all, we've been in a drought of spiritual understanding of who's who, because it's all about the who's who. Nobody knew who was who, so we've been in a drought of understanding for 7-8 years. Okay, just like then, so Elijah and his friend are out there looking over, I think, the sea. And Elijah says to him, go look and see if you see anything, see if you see any clouds or anything over the sea. And he came back and he said, nope. I think he went the third time. Finally, the third time, he goes back and he looks. And he comes back and he says, behold, I see a cloud like a man's hand. Okay. See, the cloud was what confirmed William Branham's ministry. Okay. The cloud shaped like a man, he said, behold, I see a cloud shaped like a man's hand. What it was, see, Lucas is my friend. He's my one friend. And I don't want to say he's my only one friend, because I got other friends. I got the what was it, the woman that understood Elijah was a prophet, my mom. Okay, I got my loving wife. Okay, but I got all these things. I could go on, but I don't want to tell you all everything. I'd be here all day. I don't want to make myself sound too good, right? But anyway.
Well, you'd like to.
Well, I got to go do other stuff. I can't just talk about how great a guy I am all the time, right? So anyway, so what this guy's up on, Elijah's friend is up there with him, okay? So Elijah's been proven by his astrology. The other guy, Lucas, is the cloud. And he goes out there and sees a cloud. He says, behold, I see a cloud like a man's hand. Lucas, my friend, is Gemini, and then the rest of his chart is air and water. Okay? Gemini, see, in astrology, every sign rules a particular part of the body. Okay? Pisces rules the feet. Okay? Like Capricorn rules the knees and the bone structure, I suppose. And, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Gemini rules the hands. So there you go. This guy who came to confirm my ministry was a cloud shaped like a man's hand. His whole chart is nothing but a cloud, air and water, but it's shaped in Gemini. This is a sun sign as a man's hand. Okay? Now, you all can think I'm crazy. Whatever. I don't know, but I'm just going to tell you this. I've exposed the whole thing. I've told who everybody is, and I'm going to tell you this. As I recall, now I haven't looked this up because, like I said, me and Lucas have got into speculation at this point. But we can assume. See, what happened after that was that there was rain came, and I believe Elijah was supposed to have said that to Ahab. Was it not? Get thee down, that the rain stop thee not, to some effect. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, I would just let me see if I can find that. Y'all don't mind to hang on just a minute, do you? Let's look it up. Sorry about that. Chief. Get thee down. See if I can find it here. Yep, here it is. 1 Kings 18:44. And it came to pass the 7th time that he said, Behold, there ariseth a little cloud out of the sea, like a man's hand. And he said, Go up, say unto Ahab, Prepare thy chariot, and get thee down, that the rain stop thee not. Well, that's what I say. That's what I say unto our king Ahab, our Atoriala Yonza, is go, get thee down, that the rain stop thee not, for rain is coming. It must be rain of understanding. Like I said, we're speculating at this point, but rain, like Lucas said, rain probably meant a message. So it means a message of understanding. It's not a drought anymore. We've had somewhat of a drought. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, I get thee down, that the rain stop thee not, because we're fixing to have some storms here. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. We're fixing to have some message storms here. So anyway, I think I will leave it with this. I had originally thought to name this message Nay, but we will have a king. And really that was the first part of it. Probably we could break it up into 2 parts, but I think I'll leave it together. I think rather than naming it that, I think a better name for it would be Get Thee Down, That the Rain Stop Thee Not. So that's what I'm going to name it. And so anyway, I'm very happy to have spent time with all of you all who would listen to this. And like I said, no hard feelings. No hard feelings. Everybody has done exactly what they were supposed to do. And I believe that we have had to do what we had to do too. And so I would be very happy to be, I am very happy that we were able to come back together as more recent. And me and King Ahab, and and so anyway, because it's like this, people there again, people read the Bible. Let me say a little bit about King Ahab before I go. There again, people read the Bible wrong, and they read it, and they get in there and they read about King Ahab, and they're like, man, you look at that terrible guy. That's the way. If they're looking at it from the perspective of right and wrong, mm-hmm. There again, and that's their fault, is that they look at it and they say, well, look at that terrible guy. And I'm like, you're wrong. This was the king of Israel. This was a very spiritual guy. Okay, this guy knew stuff. He was doing he was playing whatever position he had to do, but he was an all right guy. He knew stuff, and I'll bet you, like I told Luke the other day, I said, I bet you if you could go back in time, it wouldn't be nothing like that. The churches has made the Bible out to be for so many years. I bet you it was probably a lot closer than what they thought. I bet you Elijah and Ahab probably hung out. They probably broke bread together. I bet you they did. I bet you it wasn't nothing like, if we could go back in a time machine, I bet you it wasn't nothing like what we've been left over by this age of Pisces and whatnot that made it sound so terrible. I bet it wasn't nothing like that. Yeah. And here again, here in the modern day, it ain't nothing like, it ain't terrible. It just is what it is.